Are we going?
It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, Detroit, Michigan, and 9 a.m. in Sacramento, California. And this is Car Edge Live for Wednesday, July 2nd, with your hosts, me, Ray, Justice, who is not Zach, and Phil, who is neither Justice or Zach.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Gentlemen. How's everybody doing today?
Awesome.
Yeah, it's still cool here for now, so I'll take it while I can get it.
Well, isn't this supposed to be the hot season in Sacramento?
I said for now. I'm meaning right this moment in time.
Okay.
It is only 74 degrees.
That's beautiful.
It'll be over 100 here within the next 3 hours. So,
oof. Okay, well, enjoy the 74.
When I hit your time, Phil, it'll be over 100.
Oh God, it's 82 in Detroit right now.
Well, it's in the low 70s and raining at the shore. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have covered the weather for America, and now I suppose we should cover, I don't know, the show topic.
That's right, because otherwise it would be chaos.
Yes,
and it would be chaos here without that. Yeah. So what are we talking? We're talking about the best deals today for the 4th of July weekend. Although week, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole week, really. So we have a wonderful article written by the fourth musketeer, who could not be here today because he's updating these things and doing more blogs. But Ray, he says to say hello and wishes he could be here. He's knee deep in data today. So luckily Justin wrote articles for us. So I will put that in the chat here for everyone who wants to read through the article of the best 4th of July deals right now. My take is this.
Yes.
The best deals that you're going to find beyond looking through Justin's data-driven blog here is to look at your market day supply. Right? There's a lot of vehicles sitting around for a long time right now. And I think for me, if I was out shopping, luckily I love my car, so I'm not. But if I was, I would be looking at what has been sitting on the floor the longest. So I pulled up some stuff. I know Zach usually uses a DC or Maryland zip code, but I decided to use...
Probably because that's where he lives.
Yeah. I decided to use the most famous zip code in the world. And
of course you are. And so that's why a Rolls Royce comes.
So we're looking at the Rolls Royce Spectre here that has been on the market for only 585 days.
Wow.
I think, what are we saying? We're saying you should get actually $26,000 off. So still just slightly over $500,000.
What color would we call that? Is that fuchsia? Is that
what
the hell color is that? But I can understand based on that color.
Just plain and straight purple. I guess we're just calling it straight purple.
Okay. I can understand why it's been there as long as it has been. Oh my God. May I say one thing? Yesterday I was driving around my little area. And I've got to tell you, the quality and expense of cars that I encountered on the roadways here in Ventnor, Margate, and Longport, New Jersey, was incredible. Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Bentley Bentegas, Rolls Royce SUVs, Lamborghinis, Ferraris. It's like, where do people get all this money? Okay, number one, and number two, why do they piss it all away on cars?
So, Ray, I will tell you.
That's all relative.
I will tell you the thing that gets me all the time. Sorry, guys, I know Ray was on the wrong side. There you go. But the thing that gets me is in downtown Sacramento.
Yes.
And we are most definitely a cow town. We still have a train that runs through town, literally holding cows right through the middle of town. So we're not a giant metropolitan city over here.
Okay.
But I go to downtown, and the amount of Bugattis that I see every single day always
Really?
blows me away. And I'm like, if you can afford the Bugatti, why are you living in Sacramento?
Yeah.
What on earth are you doing?
I was just thinking when you said that, if you can afford a Bugatti, why would you live in Sacramento? I mean, how many other places could you think of?
I mean, and it's downtown Sacramento, so I know for a fact that most of the Kings players live out in Granite Bay and don't live in downtown Sacramento. Because at first I thought maybe it's the players.
Yes.
But it is not. And there's a lot of them. Like if you go out for 30 minutes, you'll see 3 or 4 driving through downtown Sacramento. And I have no idea why. That's not my market. And to your point, Ray, I can't afford that. I can't afford anywhere close to that. I don't understand how you have that money and there seems to be a lot of haves along with the have-nots. And I mean, and Zach pays me well, but I still feel of myself as in the have-not category.
Look, they probably financed it for 30 years. Come on.
They've got to be leases, right?
Leases for sure.
Those they got to be. They got to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
still got to afford a $5,000 a month payment.
Yeah, it seems to me they would be part of the 20% of the population that gets new cars that has a payment of $1,000 a month or more.
Yes.
There's no question about that.
But for real deals,
yes. Let's talk about.
If we want to talk about real deals here,
please.
I was looking at the market here, and I went to our Car Edge search site. And I just went through and I said, look, show me the cars with the oldest days on market.
Okay.
Now, here's one thing I did. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. And please do, Ray. Because I limited this to 2024 through 2026. I didn't do before that because there are a lot, I will tell you right now, there are a lot of 2022s and 2023s there. But unless it's different mid-year, I know at the end of the year, these dealers don't get any like sales bonuses for selling a 2022. Right? So they're less motivated other than floor planning, right?
Well, they've probably already paid off the floor planning on the 2022s and the 2023s because the lender would have insisted upon that at this point in time.
Yeah.
And yes, what happens is that as we move from one model year to the next, manufacturers will often do what they call a final payment to dealers on aged inventory that's been sitting. So, I mean, I remember when I was at Audi, it was, okay, here's an extra $20,000 on A8s, on your remaining A8s. And there will be no more cash available to you. There'll be no incentives from the factory to sell them. You utilize that $20,000 on top of whatever the margin was in the vehicle to begin with to figure out a way to move the car. So 2022s and 2023s, the dealers have already received and probably spent the marketing dollars that they got as a year-end bonus for those vehicles that had been sitting. And so the only motivation at this point for a dealer is to finally look in the mirror and say, this is not a fine wine. This is not going to get any better with age. This is only going to get worse with age and cost us more money. So, a smart dealer would have sold the damn things 2 years ago. Dealers that are sitting on those, just by the virtue of the fact that they're sitting on them, indicates to me that they aren't smart dealers to begin with because they've never managed their inventory properly.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we have Igor here saying, 22, 23 models are being sold as used, even if they were never sold. But I saw a lot of them that were still listed as brand new. And in my personal experience from back when I was coaching and helping people with deals,
Mhm.
the dealers that have not sold those now are less willing to move on those than they are in this year's model or a 24 or 25 model. They're more
Yep.
willing to work on those. It's, there are things there with 1,000 plus days on market, and the dealer just, nope, we're not discounting it. And I don't understand that. Like,
I don't understand that either.
that seems like pride over intelligence. I don't know what that is. Actually, I have no idea what that is.
That's somebody's ego getting in the way.
Yeah.
That's all that is. Because as I said before, they're not getting better with age. I mean, we know they're not. And the number of people that are out there going, gee, I need to have a 2022 brand new X, and whatever it is, for the dealer to think. And let's face it, I worked for a dealer at one time who kept cars forever, and his theory was, well, ultimately we'll have the only one, and so when the customer wants it, they'll have to come to us. The fallacy with that is there may never be a customer that wants it.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So what I'm seeing is sort of a disconnect in those older vehicles like that, where the dealer's kind of unwilling to negotiate on that price, but a customer's coming in going, this thing's 3 model years old. So I'm going to get a great deal. You need to give me a huge discount on this. But the dealer has been sitting there for 2 years, never willing to negotiate in the first place, which is why it's still there.
Which is frustrating because it's probably, number one, probably a bit overpriced, and two, probably not a very desirable unit. So now sell it as a used car, or price it like a used car, because that's where you're at this point, right? You've got a 2 to 3 year old car. The only way you're going to sell it is you now have to compete with used inventory.
Yeah.
So
and that's what Igor said, right? But
get rid of it.
there's just so many dealers that I saw that are just not sticking to that, and I don't understand at all. So that's why when I pull up on the search page, I stuck with 24 to 26, right? And then let's look at what is under $40,000.
Okay.
Yeah, are there any under 40,000 affordable brand new cars out there? So no big surprise. Lots of Mitsubishi. The Hornet was maybe a little bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah.
The Edge. Do they still make the Edge?
No,
I didn't think so.
I don't think so. I think
the Camry. The Camry was interesting to me. 619 days on the market for a Toyota Camry.
That's weird. I wonder if that's just a dealer not taking it off the site.
Well, it's 5,000 miles, so I'm assuming it's over 5,000 miles. So I'm assuming this was a service loaner.
Oh, I would think, and it's not really a new car.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a service loaner.
So, well, that was my question, because they're listing it as new, right, with over 5,000 miles. Because correct me if I'm wrong on this again, a demo can only go up to 5,000 miles, right?
Typically, the manufacturer doesn't want the dealer to put more than 5,000 miles on a demo. Yes, that is typically the case. But even dealers write down demos. Okay, so what do I mean when I say that? What does that mean when somebody says, well, they write down a car? Well, what it means is they know that they're using it, whether it's the owner that's driving it, or it's the owner's wife, or it's a sales manager, whoever it is. And they realize that as they put miles on that it's depreciating, even though it's still technically a brand new car, because it's never been titled, never sold to anyone. They realize that the miles are depreciating the vehicle. So dealers will look at what their invoice cost of that vehicle is, and then they'll write it down. They'll charge, or they'll subtract, say, $250 a month or $300 a month for every month that it remains in demo service. They'll subtract that from the invoice cost of the car. So if it's $250 a month for 10 months, that's what, $2,500. If the invoice was $30,000, suddenly that vehicle's on their books for $27,500 as opposed to $30,000.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say they write it down. They adjust it for the miles that they're putting on the vehicle. So when you do that, it allows them, or allows a salesperson or a sales manager, to take a below invoice deal, because you've now said your cost on that is lower than what the invoice originally was. But there's no excuse for a Camry, whether it had been a demo or not, to be sitting around for 600 days or 500 and some days.
Yeah, we're talking 2 years almost.
Yeah.
Like, that car isn't sitting in the service loaner for 2 years.
No, I mean,
No.
Most service loaners don't stay in service loaner fleet, for more than 3, 4, 5,000 miles. The manufacturers encourage you to turn your service loaners over as quickly as possible. So none of it makes sense to me. It is.
And
go ahead.
I would say, and when I'm out looking at the new cars, I kind of target demos and service loaners personally. I think they're great buys because they tend to be taken care of. I mean, I know we had somebody on the team who actually owned a dealership, and they did demos all the time, and the demos all the time, and said they always had to keep it clean because you could get a call that you got to give it up tonight. Hey, 2 hours, you got to bring it back. So they were always kept that very, very clean and very good in there. And I know that I target those because you can get a great discount on a well-maintained new car.
I bought in my lifetime at the Acura dealership in Scottsdale, Arizona, at Acura North Scottsdale. I purchased a retired TL service loaner that had like 4,000 miles on it. It was certified, so it actually had more warranty than a brand new car, and it was probably $5,000 or $6,000 less than that brand new car with more warranty. I don't know how service customers drove it every day. Some might have abused it, some might not.
It's like a rental car, right?
But the point is, it only had 4,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
So
it's
and I never had an issue with that. I bought an MDX that way. Never had an issue with that. So retired service loaners can represent, especially if it's factory certified, manufacturer certification, can represent a really strong value.
Correct.
I received an email today from one of our followers, a gentleman by the name of Ricardo, and he was looking at a Buick Encore GX or some type of. It had 2,200 miles on it. It had an MSRP of $30,000. It was a retired service loaner. It had 1 extra year of full factory bumper to bumper warranty, 1 extra year of powertrain warranty, and he got $8,000 off. Okay, he got Conquest cash plus the discount. So he was able to get the vehicle a $30,025 MSRP for $22,000 plus fees. So he ended up paying a little over $23,000 with fees for this. He said, "How did I do?" I said, "Well, you hit a home run." It's like going to Vegas and hitting the jackpot.
For sure. And service loaner vehicles, I've always looked at them as a great vehicle to actually lease, because you do get rebates from the OEM that do get applied to these leases, which can considerably drop your payments.
Yes.
So I see value there, to to, if you're interested in something like that, to definitely take a look at lease when you're looking at service loaners.
I personally believe that extremely low mileage service loaners that have been certified represent some of the best value out there when it comes to getting a car. It's in most cases still ends up having more full warranty than a brand new car with no miles, and offers significant, in many cases, huge savings.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would buy a brand new BMW instead of buying a retired BMW service loaner. I mean, anybody out there that wants a BMW should be buying a retired service loaner, because most of them only have 3,000-4,000 miles on them, and it saves you a ton of money.
I feel like that holds true for pretty much all the German brands, where any of the luxury German brands. I think that would hold true there. I think Igor would probably agree with that as well.
To me, it's always made the most sense. I've always felt that they've represented unusually good values, especially with how overpriced most vehicles are today.
Yeah, I agree in that, and that's sort of what we're touching on, is like, I think those are some of the things that you want to look out for if you're out this week looking at vehicles. Is look at the days on market.
Yes.
Target the long ones. If you see some mileage on it, and it's you can say it's a demo or a service loaner, I would kind of lean into that. Start coupling some of these things together to identify your purchase. I mean, obviously, our advice is to only purchase if you have to. Still, don't go run out and because, hey, I think I want a new vehicle because I'm bored. Unless you could afford that, I guess, then more power to you. Yeah. But otherwise, when you're looking out for a budget vehicle that you can get into. Like this one, I found this one. I liked this one, the Mitsubishi Mirage here. So it's already 19,000. We're saying get another 1,600 off of it. Don't finance it for 84 months.
No, please don't do that.
Here's the only issue with the Mirage for most people. 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, that had an MSRP of what, 11 grand, 12 grand.
Yes, but here's what I will tell you, Ray, and the one thing that most people are missing: it is not 5 years ago.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because I would have only been 69 then instead of
and I still would have been in my 40s. But I mean, look, I get that. I do. And, it's an argument, but I bet you've even said it, right? Unfortunately, it's just not, it's not 2019. It's not 2020 anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not going to be. And so these are what the prices are today that we have to deal with. And we can argue from now until forever as to whether or not everything is significantly overpriced. And I believe that the vast majority of us would go, yes, it's all significantly overpriced, but it is what the market is today.
The market is that way because there are institutions, banks, that are allowing consumers to purchase. You guys talked about this yesterday on the show, pushing out these loan terms, right? And allowing consumers to be able to get into these vehicles at, if you want to call it a reasonable payment, but still pushing term out way too far. And allowing the OEMs to continue to perpetuate this higher than it should be cost of the cars to more profit, but at the expense of the consumer. And I don't see this changing.
I don't think it ever has changed. And I know we'll share this anecdote, and it's not meant to be as flippant as it's going to sound when I say it, but it is what it is. My grandfather used to tell me a car should never cost more than $3,000, and you're an absolute fool if you pay more than $3,000 for a car.
I mentioned that yesterday, didn't I? I think I mentioned something similar to that.
I just kind of go, look, it is where everybody has, and I think these prices are ridiculous. But when I grew up, you could buy a good $1,000 used car. My first vehicle was under $1,000.
I'm sorry,
ahead,
go on.
No,
I just wanted to solidify, as credit became more and more available to consumers, that has driven up and allowed the cost of vehicles to go higher and higher past what it really should be, so that people can actually afford the car, can actually pay for the car. So as long as credit is still out there and it keeps pushing and it keeps allowing for longer terms, it's going to allow the manufacturers to keep pushing and pushing their limits on what they can charge for these cars.
Yeah. Look, people complain about the U.S. deficit all the time, and I say the same thing. You get the government that you live. Look, Americans live way beyond their means. Everybody's in credit hawk. Not everybody, obviously,
credit, right? It's because of credit.
Yeah, because so they're all run. Your personal deficit is about as high as the U.S. deficit is compared to their income, right? It just that's where we're at. We get the government that we are living, and people are living way beyond their means. They're financing. How many times have we seen now the 84-month finance? Like, that's almost becoming standard now.
Unfortunately,
and that's insane.
It's scary.
Yeah,
it's scary
because you also know none of those people are going to try to keep the car for 84 months.
What
they're going to try to get out of it in 36.
What I don't
thinking
understand,
that they're going to have some sort of equity.
Well, right, but they're not, of course.
No,
right? So, the auto industry is all about trying to get customers to come back and keep on. They want people to come in and trade their cars in, get into new cars, buy more new cars. They are hindering this from happening. They keep on pushing the cost up. Values of cars are not holding. There's depreciation is the same, if not worse, on some cars. We can go the EV route, but I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
But we know that depreciation is the highest.
It is. It is.
And we still see people buying brand new EVs all the time, which, of course, we here at Car Edge have always said, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, lease new, buy used.
But what Phil is saying is that, manufacturers are chasing their customers. They want their customers to be able to come back every 3 years or so and get it. But I don't think that's really the case anymore. I think that was the case many, many years ago. And I think manufacturers have accepted the fact that there will be about 10% of the American population that ultimately will be buying new cars as we move forward. And that if they sell cars to that 10%, that is a sufficiently large enough population for them to be able to maintain their businesses. The concept of selling somebody a car and having them come back in 3 years is a concept that will live no more. You can't put people in 7-year loans and expect them to come back in 3 years. If they come back in 3 years, they are going to be so disappointed that they may never come back again. I think that was the case. I don't think it's the case any longer for manufacturers. They're thinking to themselves, we're going to produce fewer vehicles. We're going to sell fewer vehicles. We're going to make more per vehicle that we sell so that we can survive that instead of our customers coming back in 3 years, perhaps they'll come back in 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they made it up on the front end in their profit for the
Exactly.
additional years. Yep.
And if we're seeing manufacturers pulling back investments into future EV growth, because let's face it, ICE engines were what was allowing these manufacturers to invest in EVs. And we see all these manufacturers pulling back on EVs, which ultimately tells you they're perfectly content to just make the money that they can make off of the ICE vehicles and the hybrids, and survive selling fewer vehicles to fewer people less frequently.
Yep. I want to comment on one thing, because Brian mentioned in his time at the dealership, he's prompted to reach out to all past buyers to get people to come into the door and trade their car in. Well, yeah, I think that's even happening today, right?
Yeah.
For sure. But it doesn't. It's gonna be their job to get the customer in the door, probably knowing fair well that there's going to be some negative equity that they're going to have to deal with. But how do we package it so that we can get the customer into a new car, get them in some extended term financing, and roll the negative equity in, and boom, we sold a car. But you just screwed that customer, because now they've got negative equity rolling into another 6, 7, 8 years,
and
making it more difficult to get out of the car.
And we know the average negative equity on a trade-in today is about $6,500. That number's only going to go up with 84-month financing. Okay, so that negative equity, don't be shocked, Mr. and Mrs. America, when negative equity on average is about $800 or $8,500 per trade-in.
Yeah,
because you're financing a vehicle for 24 months longer than what you had been in the past when you were a 60-month finance contract. So it just, there's no way the manufacturers can look at this and not understand that sales are either going to just stagnate, which realistically they have for 50 years, or they're going to go backwards. And they'll figure out how to survive and be extremely profitable as sales go backwards, because you have fewer and fewer people that you can actually sell these new cars to.
Yep.
So,
But to piggy on what you were saying about the investment in the EVs, and I think we're seeing some of the manufacturers now kind of skirt away from that, as you mentioned, which leads us to one of the stories that you brought up to me this morning, Ray, which is Stellantis has a new head of American brands.
Yes.
Right. And that is
Mr. Tim Kuniskis.
Yeah, Tim Kuniskis. Kuniskis, thank you. So he was the Ram brand CEO, and he's now the head of American brands. And what are they also doing there? They're resurrecting their street racing technology for the performance division. Do you think that's going to be a lot of EVs in that street racing technology, Ray?
I think it'll be 0 EVs in that. and I think what Stellantis is signaling, especially to their dealer body in North America, is that we're going to put a car guy, a real honest to goodness car guy, in charge of North American brands. Okay. And there would be nothing that would make the dealer body happier than having a car guy run North American brands, because the problem has been for years and years and years with most of these manufacturers, it's the bean counters that have
the tech guys. Or the tech guys, right? There's a lot of these people are out there that are the tech guys, which is why you see some of the things that you see where everything's a screen, everything's and while I think there's a market for that. I think it's more the high end market, generally speaking.
Yes.
Then people are perfectly fine to just have their backup cameras, the most advanced thing in their car.
Now I think this speaks volumes to what it's going to take to create the chaos that Carlos Tavares created by not having car people running these car companies. It is,
Yep.
It reminds me of when Lee Iacocca came and saved Chrysler. It's car. You've got to be a real hard ass car guy. And Phil, you are one. Phil, you are the living example of somebody in the Detroit area that loves automobiles, that loves the big engines, and so
I do.
And so watching the direction that most manufacturers have gone over the course of time was always unnerving to you because you hated what you were seeing. And now they're going to bring back a car guy that has the same vision and idea as to what cars mean to Americans and what they really want in a car. And I just think you can't overstate how important this is for CDJR dealers moving forward. This is the lifeline that they've been asking for the past 3 or 4 years. It will be the turning point that allows Stellantis to really survive in the United States, in my opinion.
I agree. And with that SRT the performance, because having that brand and being able to take real car guy saying like this is what people want, right?
Yeah.
You took away the V8s, you got everyone's up in an uproar, rightly so. Going into this EV, they brought out the Charger EV and just said pretty much to all the people that really wanted and would buy all day, every day, their Scat Packs and their Hellcats and say, nope, sorry, you're gone. Nope, we're just going to have an EV. Like, what kind of planning is that? I'm really excited for this. What's going to happen with Stellantis? And I'm with you, right? I mean, having a car guy at the head really makes me feel better. Makes me feel better for them and for the future. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phil. Even though I'm in California and just realized I embody California a little too much because I appreciate the tech. So
Look,
everybody knows
but
I'm in an EV and I believe in the future of EVs and that's all I want to see. But I agree that I am in a bubble over here in California, and it is what that is. I like choice, and I do believe that this is the right move for Stellantis to make. That not everywhere's California and Massachusetts, right? They're definitely not all of that. So I like my tech over here because I have the infrastructure too.
Sure.
And I like the whole tech. I don't like returning of the buttons and all that. That's just like, I don't want any of that. Just I'm fine with my center screen kind of guy. But that's just for me. I agree that the nation's not there. And that this needs to be an organic adoption. And
it does.
For Stellantis and dare I say Ford, these are the right moves to go back into the things that they did really well that somehow they pivoted away from for the last few years and just have really, really hurt their brands.
I think what it says is we really need to listen to our customers.
Yes.
And we can't dictate to our customers what they want. They need to dictate to us what they want us to build for them if we'd like them to spend their hard-earned money. I'm not saying there isn't a percentage of automobiles that will be bought every year that are EVs. There will be. It just will never be as many or as large a percentage as what people in government had thought or had hoped. We are a country of people that like choice.
Yes, actual choice.
We like
not just perceived choice. I agree in that, and I think that's why I've said for a long time, like, I don't want mandates either way. I don't want subsidies either way. This includes gas and oil. But I don't want the tax credits. I don't want the subsidies. I don't want any of that. I want the market to decide. And I think, Tesla did perfectly fine in the beginning with no subsidies and no, like they were selling cars slower than they do now, for sure. But, they were doing fine. Let the market decide. And if I in California have the infrastructure and I want to drive an EV, great, give it to me. If Phil doesn't want to drive an EV, even though Phil drives an EV, he doesn't have to.
Probably not going to.
Well, yeah.
Thank God I didn't buy the car.
But there's, I agree that there needs to be options, and the OEMs need to focus on what they're doing. That means I think Ford I agree in this comment, should bring back the Fusion. That is the only new car I've ever bought in my life, was the Ford Fusion. And I will say, I really did like that car
there's
a
a
lot.
market for that, right?
I don't know why they got rid of it. So, but they need to listen to their customers. Like, where are the affordable Ford little vehicles again? Where is that? Now, do I think that means Tesla and Rivian need to start making ICE cars? Hell no. They should stick to what they're doing well and keep that market going. But, listen to the customers.
I think the government needs to pay everyone who bought an EV, pay them back the depreciation that they just lost because, quote, they were kind of forced a hand into it. I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I don't know about that. I won't get into that. But,
I know.
I'm just thrilled that we're going to listen to what the customer wants.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, and I don't know how most businesses that start get away from that, because they listen to their customers when they first started. The customer told them yes or no by either buying or not buying whatever it is that they made. What was the Apple iPod? Is that what it was? The music player that didn't exist. Well, I guess it really did exist. Microsoft made one similar, but the iPod is the one that took off. The market determined that was the way they wanted to be able to. People wanted to be able to listen to music in the future. Okay, the market does that. It's not Apple saying this is how you're going to listen to music in the future. We're going to create a way to get you excited about listening to music in the future this way. And so it depends on the businesses depend on listening to their customers, damn it.
And dare I say, Ray, that Stellantis's move, and to a much lesser degree Ford lately, and some of GM, that kind of shows that the market is working. They're backpedaling because they tried to make a move and they made a switch, found out people are like, F that. So they're moving. So that is literally the market at work. Yep. They tried something new, and now they're saying, well, that was a bad idea, or that was too ahead of its time, or whatever it is. So we're going to go back. I do believe it was probably just ahead of its time. I think we will probably end up over there eventually, but down the road a lot more. That's my personal opinion. But but I think this is the market working. Right, to your point, I think this is showing them that people were listening. They tried, they made a gamble, didn't pay off. So now they're sort of backpedaling, and the market's saying, this is what we want. Now, how much do they listen? Is Ford going to start introducing the small, affordable coupes and hatchbacks again instead of just trucks at all times? Who knows? But I do think this sort of shows that, in my opinion.
I'm also.
Is this an example as to how capitalism is supposed to work?
I think so, right? Because they tried it, they lost a bunch of money, right? And so now they're like, oh, if we want to still exist, we better zag back over here to what our customers, and yeah, they think that's free market capitalism at stake. That doesn't mean you only do the one thing for the rest of your life.
No,
you got to try, and you got to maneuver, and you got to experiment, but you can't be stupid about it. And I think this is just the market adjusting back, personally.
Yeah.
But I know we do have a couple contributions I want to get to, because of course this is Justice show, so here we are at 50-minute show. but I want to get to a couple of these. Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ray, I'll let you read it. How's that?
Mainstream media reports California official in charge of public works, the one who's supposed to ensure there's water for things like large fires, has a $750,000 salary. So that may account for one of the fancy autos in Sacramento.
There you go.
So I will say this: our public works administrator only gets $360,000 a year.
Only. Oh, okay.
So that's not the Sacramento one. But yes, certainly.
I was going to say, even at $750,000 a year, you ain't buying a Bugatti. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they? 2 million?
I don't know. Right. I've actually never looked into them. I just see them driving down the street. And by the way, they're driving very slowly, and the engines are popping and everything, because that car is not made to go that slow all the time, which is the other thing that I see. I'm like, that car wants to go faster than the 15 miles an hour you can drive down the street. Buddy.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, like, what are you doing? And then we had one more here.
Matthew.
Thank you.
They're sucking all the dollars from California taxpayers. Well, I think you could attest to that.
Yeah, they do. They do. I got to say, I know how bad California is. I'm here. I see it. I see it every single day. I see it in my, the house in my neighborhood. I'm in a okay neighborhood. I'm not in a rich area. But I have a park next to me and a church on the other side. It's a nice, quiet thing. There's a junior high a block back from me. But the house that I can see out my window right now is $750,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I just go, I can't afford. Again, I'm not saying Zach doesn't pay me well. Zach pays me very well. Very happy with my compensation. But I can't afford a $750,000 house in my own neighborhood.
No.
And that has nothing to do with carriage. It has everything to do with, are you insane, California? Like, what is going on over here?
And I believe if you were in the Bay Area, that $750,000 home would be $3 million.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't get a cardboard box in the Bay for $750,000. That's for sure.
Insane.
That's for sure. But that's why our prices went up, because everyone from the Bay sold their multi-million-dollar homes, came over here and bought 3 and 4 homes that they're renting 2 or 3 of them out. So that is part of just living in current times in California.
Well, I know people make fun of me for living in New Jersey of all places, but it seems relatively inexpensive to live here. in comparison to where you're living. And I'm not saying that I couldn't look out my window and see homes for $1 million.
Yeah,
I can. I can also see homes that are $350,000. So in the same neighborhood.
So. Yeah, I mean, it's just I think that's everywhere. I've looked in Phil's area. I've seen some amazing Detroit deals. Although Phil tells me I don't want to live in that neighborhood when I see those deals.
No,
but then I've seen some deals that look a lot like California over in his area too, where I'm like,
you gotta go to the Birmingham and Bloomfield area in the Detroit area to see those kind of homes.
And what's the other? Is it Grosse Pointe? Is that what it is?
Grosse Pointe, that's there's some money down there, some expensive homes. That's old money down there.
There's a great movie set there.
Yes, John Cusack was in that.
Yeah, it's great. Great.
Proud of me.
And his sister. Yeah, I am very proud of you. That was because that's a great movie. I love that. It still holds up today. I just saw it last year.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, gentlemen. I think I've disappointed Zach enough.
Did we do? There was one more contribution.
Oh, was there? Did I miss one?
Please,
I'm sorry.
yep, Matthew.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, Matthew again. Thank you. Go ahead, Rick. I'll let you read it.
So looking forward to the buttons on my 718 GTS. Buttons like a 747 cockpit. Unlike the god awful BMW iDrive 8-screen for climate control and heat.
I will say this: I've gotten into some EVs that the screen doesn't make sense. I think you and Zach said it the other day on the show, Ray, where you got to go through 3 screens to get to the glove box. Like, I will say this about Tesla: they're very good at, like, you just press one button to get to the main screen, and all of your like important functions are right there. So I got to go to my screen, hit one button to open the glove box. My AC controls are right there, but I've been in some that make no sense to me. I'm like, if I was driving, why on earth would I want to try to go through all these screens to get to just to turn my AC up?
To your point, real quick, and then we can be done, I guess. But in the lyric, the glove box is only accessible through the screen. Okay, when the car is parked, they put the icon for the glove box in the dock, if you want to call it, down at the bottom. When you're driving or the car is in gear, it no longer is present there.
That's both good and bad. I can see that. I mean,
agreed.
What need do you need?
You got to go deep into the system to actually find it, right?
When I hear stories like this, I think to myself, this is only intuitive to someone who was on drugs when they came up with it. Okay.
Well, the other thing, Ray, is that you can't open up your glove box unless you have the car turned on. So, like, if you forget something in the car, you just want to go back and open up your glove box and grab it out of the glove box because you left it there. No, you have to go. You have to turn the car on. You have to find the button, push the button open. Like, come on, really?
And if you're driving and your wife is in the passenger seat, and she says, "Oh, do we have something?" And you go, "Yeah, it's in the glove box."
Yeah, she's having no idea. Like, how do I get there? I got to go through all like.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of just lifting the latch and the damn thing drops down and hits you in the knee.
Agreed. Yeah.
What do you keep in your glove box, though?
I mean, look, nothing. But it's the
principle. Right.
It's the principle.
No, that's my principle. You know what I keep in my glove box? My registration and my insurance.
Well, yes, that's
so. Yes, I'm going to be. So if I get pulled over, I'm going to put the car in park and I'm going to open the glove box. And other than that, it's not the days when we had fold-up maps in the glove box. And I have my center console for, well, mainly just napkins in my car. It's just full of napkins.
Are you telling me I can throw out those maps now?
Yeah, I think you can throw out the map. I don't think they're up to date anymore, Ray. I think they're probably a bit outdated. Yeah, do they still print maps?
Somebody must, but that
So I'm trying
that's
to
got to
think.
be a dying business.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, the last time I went to a gas station has been a long time, but last time I went into one for like a Slurpee or something, I don't remember the map tower anymore.
No.
I don't think that exists anymore.
I don't think so. Well,
So I don't know what you're getting into your glove box for. Is all I'm saying.
I keep a Leatherman in my glove box, so it's a nice little tool that you never know when you need a nice little tool. Now I can tell you, in the last 12 years, I haven't needed that, but it's in the glove box of every car. I move it from one car to the next, and it's always in my glove box. So, and a little notepad and a pen.
I have a notepad and pen, but it's in my center console.
Okay.
I do have a lot of little tools, but they're in my frunk.
Okay.
So, and I keep the whole set of tools that I have no reason to keep anymore, because it's not like I'm going to tune up that engine real quick. If something goes wrong, I don't know why I have them. That's just a holdover. But
oh well, we've killed about an hour.
Yeah. So, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you and Phil for being here today.
It's always fun.
I believe my son will be back tomorrow, but at least that's what he told us yesterday.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if how well he does on the mountain. Do we want to show everyone?
No. We don't. We do not. No, we're not going to talk about this.
Okay.
This is our little secret.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Actually, I won't be here. I'm going on vacation starting tomorrow. Right?
Well, you have a good vacation, and whatever you do, don't buy a car while you're on vacation.
There's 0% chance of that.
Good. I want to thank Phil and Justice for being here today, filling in for Zach. I want to thank everybody for watching today, and the rest of us, well, hell, we'll all be back here tomorrow. So please at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, join us for more fun and frivolity at Car Edge Live.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.